Hi, Dani Taylor. Welcome to Diamond Academy and congratulations on getting accepted to the program. We have had a tremendous impact in a very short amount of time. Numbers do not lie. The numbers have moved. We've been so excited to see sometimes people getting in a flatline position where they're maybe stalled or stuck. They've kind of just checked out a little bit and then they come back and want to re-engage, and we've seen their actual numbers start to move. We've seen people who were struggling a little bit because they didn't have that extra coaching or that extra mentoring, and all of a sudden the aha moments and the light bulbs start going off. So what for you, I can't promise what kind of results you're going to get, but I can tell you that if you put your mind to it, you do the principles here, you will get results. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I just don't know how big those results will be, because ultimately that will be up to you. All right. So belief and decision is where it starts. If you have the tiniest seed of faith, right, can move the mountains. If you have that belief and you have a deeper understanding of what you really want out of your life, where do you want to connect the dots, and you get into the heart, not just the head, but the heart, then the decision becomes very easy, because now you know that when you wake up of a morning, you're working for a sense of purpose and you're excited to little by little chip away at that dream so that it becomes a reality for you. But you do have to commit to the process and, of course, see that through. We're going to provide several different methods here. You're going to watch and listen to videos during this 6-module program. You will definitely want to take notes during that. You can pause and rewind and go back and hit some of the highlights that maybe speak to you. But then also we provide a self-evaluation survey so that it can take you just a little deeper down that journey. And with that, you also have the score tracker. Now, the score tracker is going to be your best friend. It is going to give you your daily method of operation. It'll show you where you are maybe best at and you have great strengths. And of course, we want you to work in your superpowers, but we also want you to look at, where do I need to pick it up a little bit? Where do I need to step up and get out of my comfort zone a little? It's okay to feel uncomfortable. In fact, embrace it. It's where growth happens. So belief is everything. If you do not have this, people will sense it. And it may not happen for you overnight. It may be something that you have to do every day, and feed your mind, feed your belief, get around people that are having success, be plugged in, listen to the stories. Understand that even in college courses, in fact, Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois, my hometown, they have a college course, and they state that 80% of women who make a 6-figure income or above do so in a home-based business. Now, I was thrilled to hear that. I thought, are you kidding? Not only that, but more millionaires are produced in this industry than any other industry. And it had this kind of dark looming connotation over it where people feel like, what is that? Are you doing one of those things? And I don't think people are just educated on it. I think that they have a social ignorance. In fact, I know they do, because I have made the best friendships, the lifelong, that you cannot put a price tag. We've become financially independent. We have choices. And I wish that for you. I hope that you understand really what it is and you hold your head high versus being sheepish about it, because that belief inside of you, if it's not there, people will get the vibe and they may not be able to put their finger on it, but they'll know something's kind of amiss here, and I'm not quite sure what it is. And even if they aren't there yet, and you don't need to go into any explanation and try to educate them on it, what you need to do is go have success and show them what is possible. All right. It's normal to have fear. We all have it. It is, though, false evidence appearing real. It's an acronym, and it's really just your perception. Okay. So let's take you on that journey for 1 minute. What if I spend my time and energy on this and it doesn't have a return? Or what if I put myself out there and people think less of me? Will I bug my friends? Are they going to think I'm selling them something? What are they going to think of me? I don't want to ruin my reputation. All of those things are normal and healthy, actually. It's healthy to think like that. That's critical thinking skills. Am I going to spend my time and then not get a return? But yeah, what if you spend your time and get a huge return? What if you start rocking 6, 7 figures? How does that sound? But even during that process, if you embrace that what you're going to do is you're going to learn and you're going to absorb and you're going to apply, then okay, maybe it takes you longer than you wanted it to, but would it be worth it to you in 5 years instead of 2 that you become financially independent? 10 years even? Think about it. Now, bugging my friends, this is something that's a real, concern because people kind of give you that side eye. Most of the time, they're only looking out for you. They're concerned that maybe you won't have success because they've heard about people that have tried and failed at these things. But I haven't met an entrepreneur yet that hasn't had to push through what other people think or say to get to their dream. So, if you handle it professionally, they will feel your genuine authenticity, and that's the game changer. And it's not you trying to convince them about how great the industry is. Like I said, it's having success, showing them what's possible. So if they're not ready just yet, just be kind, keep your friendship the way it is, and then maybe at some point they'll come back around, or same with family. So I want to end on this just for today on whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. This is something that I've put into practice. And we know that there is neurological science behind the subconscious mind and how it actually affects the conscious mind. We know when you write things down that it's a direct link. So I want you to write your goals down and your dreams, but I also then want you to envision them. If you want to go on vacations with your family and you haven't been able to do that, and when you want to see yourself traveling, I want you to close your eyes for just a few minutes and feel the sand. If you're going to the beach, feel the sand, feel the warm sun on your skin, on your shoulders, feel the breeze, smell the salt in the air. Just give yourself a chance to use your imagination, but also see it as though it's already happened. It's amazing what happens when you start to do that, because then the subconscious mind doesn't know any different, and it actually helps put things into motion for you. I used to think that was such rah-rah and fluff until I started applying it and things started happening. So maybe for you, it's getting congratulated and hearing those words from your friends or your colleagues of, wow, congratulations on your promotion. Great job. See it and feel it. All right. But do this every day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, review your goals. Then let's get into the heart just a little bit more on this. Is there anything holding you back that you can put to the side or that you can get help with? Are you dreaming anyway? Because when I first started with this, I felt like, hey, life is good. I'm not going to really get uncomfortable and push myself, even though I think it'd be nice to have those extras and be able to have choices. I don't know. Like, I'm healthy. I have my family. Yes, that's normal, healthy thinking too. But think about it this way. What if you could have both? So, and I know it's possible. I've been living proof of that. So get down into that emotional side of this connection. That's where it'll connect with the limbic brain, and that's what puts things into motion. Same as pain or pleasure, right? It has some sort of an emotion attached to it. I have a good friend and he says it's either inspiration or desperation that will move people. It's such a great statement and it's true. But think about, what if you do not hit the goal? What is the consequence? And then you get to the end of this journey in your life and you look back. It's easier to have struggled than to live with regret. So push yourself just a little every day and stay close to us. When you make that decision and it's compelling enough for you, it's going to inspire you to get through those hard times. So yes, I still have all kinds of disappointments and discouragements. I have people tell me no. I have people say they're going to do something and they don't. You will find that along life's journey anyway. But when that disappointment happens, I know that my dreams are so important to me that I'm going to push right past it. I'm not going to retreat. So what's important to you? What will fulfill you? What is it going to take for you to fight for this? And like I said a moment ago, what if it takes 5 to 7 years? What if it takes 10? What if, right? So change those what ifs on the opposite side of that, and then attach yourself to the activity, not the results. If you get attached to the actual result, you will have those high highs and those low lows. Those are going to happen anyway, but they're really extreme when you start thinking, I got it. Nope. I focus on the activity, The more people I put into process, the more I learn, the more this happens, and the less I put pressure on myself or anyone else. So, a quick helpful tip: have a standing weekly planning session for yourself. Look ahead. Look at what you have on the calendar, maybe kids or work or things you have to get done. Put those in, make those your non negotiables. Of course, put your family in there, but also, what can you push aside? What can you say no to for right now so that you can put your focus and your energy on achieving these dreams? Maybe it's your favorite TV show for a while. Maybe you have to just plug in a little bit here and there to let yourself decompress. But sometimes you have to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So I would encourage you to look at your calendar, be present and intentional with that. Okay. And then, of course, schedule in the times that you're going to be plugged into your business. It's critical that you hold yourself accountable to that. And this scorecard is going to help with just that. So you will see the PDF. You'll download this. You can print it or you can use it on a spreadsheet. But it covers the key mental habits every single day. Look this over and ask yourself these questions. Now, you're not going to track it and actually record your number until once a week. So during that planning session, maybe that's another time that you have your scorecard out right before you're maybe going to embark on the next module. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at, are these the things that I'm doing every day? And then at the end of the week, you're going to score yourself on the key habits, the money-making habits, and the plug-in activities. You're going to say, okay, on this line, I'm going to read this sentence. Did I do it? Yes, I did. But did I give it my best? Did I crush it? Because if I nailed it and I crushed it, I'm going to write a 3 in there. If I didn't do it at all, it's a 0. Okay. Now, somewhere in between, it just depends on how much you're dabbling in it, but be fair with yourself and give yourself the score so you can really see where you're at. Tracking your activity will equal end results. So it's your time. You have results or excuses, but you cannot have both. So I encourage you, fight your way through this. Embrace it, have fun with it, actually turn it into a privilege versus thinking that it's hard. If you think it's hard, it's going to be hard. But if you decide that you're going to enjoy and embrace the journey, experience will be your best teacher every time. And the more you fall down, the better you get. So dust yourself off, pick yourself back up, put that smile on your face and go at it. Every time you have a win, celebrate it. Think about what's going right, and then let's create a success story through this program. We want you at the top with us. For today, we're going to go ahead and close out, and I'm excited to get you on the invitation so that you can get into those money-making activities. So learn how to invite and start going after everyone that you know to just share and put something in their mind that if it's not now, you'd still like to have them at some point. All right. God bless you. We'll see you on the next video. Hello and welcome to session 2. Real quick recap on session 1. We talked about belief, how incredibly important that is. Everything flows from belief. If you're like me and you get in your way a lot, or you still struggle with certain beliefs, either about yourself or about the ability to succeed, or you overthink, or get way too deep in the weeds, go double down on those mental key habits. Maybe find 30 minutes a day, as much as you can. Go find some space though where it can be quiet. You could feast on that mental diet of moving your thoughts toward the right direction and feed it with what will move your business forward, positivity. Now, the second part of that is making a decision. And we talked about how important it is once you've made that decision to go for it. The one thing you'll have to make sure of is you understand every time I've ever made a decision to go for my dreams, life throws a huge curveball or something gets really out of whack, very hectic and haywire. Actually consider it to be a test to see if you're really going to go through with what you said you were going to go through with. So don't put your business back on a shelf and say, well, I've got to go deal with this first. Actually recognize it for what it is and keep moving. Go for your dreams. Do not let anything set you back. You may have some bumps in the road and that's completely okay, but just don't let it derail you. With session 2, we're going to talk about the invitation process. There's so much content that I want to give you, but honestly, the biggest piece I want you to take away from today is that massive action creates massive results. The more you get into the invitation mode and you learn how to get a rhythm of picking up the phone and inviting, getting out of your own head, you'll have so many people in your pipeline that there will be someone coming out the other side. I promise. It's just a matter of getting people into process. The agenda today is going to be warm and cold market. I'll give you some inviting tips. I'll teach you the acronym form. I still use that to this day. How to invite in person and also on the phone. Remember, all of these things I'm telling you are the things that I did to get to 7 figures. Your warm market is always going to be what I would call your hot list. To people that know you by name, or by even like pick up the phone, they heard your voice, they would know who you are. Those are maybe your more immediate circle of influence, but even acquaintances that know who you are, or someone that you haven't talked to in a long time, they still have a connection with you. What I would encourage you to do is just get past the idea of, a lot of people will say, well, I want to work my cold market because I don't want to bug my friends. I don't want them to think I'm trying to sell them something. I don't want them to have a lesser opinion of me or, ruin a friendship. If you treat this professional, you're not going to ruin a friendship. And if you learn that you have something that could potentially change someone's life, if you believe that, you've seen it. Look at all the people that their health has been blessed abundantly. What about people who financially never dreamed they'd be making the kind of money they're making? People that were quiet, shy individuals who got up to regional or national ambassador, they're making great income. Why is that? Because there is absolute success inside of what we have to offer. When you get that deep down into your soul and you are able to convey that, even without overkill, just the posture, you have no idea. People are searching for hope. They're looking for purpose. They want to get out and feel like their work matters and that they have a sense of fulfillment. So even if someone looks like they have it all together, you never know what's going on the inside. So it's really all in your approach. First, you have to make a list, because if you're going to get after this thing, you've got to have something to look down at when you sit down to make your phone calls. I like to go find a quiet spot and block out. I do time blocking and I say, okay, for 45 to no longer than an hour and a half, 90 minutes would be the longest I would do. I call it a jam session. I'm going to make phone calls and I'm going to do it as fast as I can without being rude or seeming very insensitive, but I'm going to try to get on and off the phone because I need to get people in this pipeline. And what I did is I kept refreshing my list. I went back through some things like, oh, wait a minute, where do I already spend money? I reviewed the credit card statement. I go so-and-so's for get my nails done. I haven't talked to this massage therapist. I used to go see her for massage. Someone that I used to go for chiropractic care. I mean, people that know you are more likely, and sometimes they'll just completely brush you off, and that's okay, but they're more likely to at least take a listen. And if they're already giving you, you're giving them business, a lot of times they like to reciprocate, or they may just be at least open to checking out. So put those people on your list. Put your chicken list together as well. I thought about, like, who makes me nervous to think that if I picked up the phone and called them because they're so successful, who would that be? And who do I look up to? But don't leave anyone off. Friends of friends, even people that were maybe, a friend you had ran in the same circles. You'd show up at different events and they'd sometimes come and you'd have a little bit of a connection there. Former classmates, old colleagues, maybe friends, your kids all went to a certain function together, or you used to sit with the other moms, or maybe you are looking at, well, who of my friends, their parents, I haven't talked to them for a while. So there are memory joggers out there. Make sure that you download a couple of those, go through your Facebook, make sure you go through your cell phone. Do not leave a single soul and do not judge. Do not leave anyone off and do not judge. Okay. Even for the people that you run across that have already told you no, you can recycle those people. Just remember what the conversation was like. And always, if you go get a success story of some kind, or you have a story that relates to them, it's a good way to reapproach them and just say, hey, I know last time we talked, it wasn't really good timing for you, but I just wanted to make sure, I don't want to I don't want to at least check in because this just happened. And if they still give you the pushback, it's okay. Just change the subject. A big tip here, though, that a lot of times new people will make, I know I did, is I would get so excited when someone would show interest that I just kept talking to the same person. And I kept thinking, come on, I thought you were going to do this. And just know when to take it back away. And you'll learn a couple of the questions that I like to ask to get them to a decision. I don't force the decision, but I try to help that process along by saying, okay, great. So I know you've looked at a couple different presentations. And is there anything else you would need to know before you made a decision? I will teach you that during the follow-up, but at least be aware of it, because some of the people that are not at first open, you never know what's changed for them, okay? And do not be afraid to ask for referrals. Warm market is always going to be your best bet, though. Cold market, there are some people that have great success with cold market, but it's more of the exception to the rule, and oftentimes that doesn't always duplicate. So when I used to be a business owner, and multitudes of people would come in and approach me, some people just off the street, sometimes my phone would ring and it would be a sales. Everyone thought their product would be great in my business, but I didn't have any connection to them. And honestly, it became burdensome sometimes to stop what I was doing. I finally just had my receptionist say, sorry, she's busy. But the truth is, it's still great to network on purpose at all times. So once you learn to be alert to life and you start being more open, you're not just running into place and running out without actually just kind of being open to what could happen. So I'm standing in line at a grocery store maybe, and the weather's beautiful, or whatever. I may just, if it's appropriate at time, I may say something just to kind of see if that person's open to communicating. But here's where you can really get dialed in on your cold market. What hobbies do you have? Do you have anything that you really love? So say you're a dog lover and your breed is boxer. You just love boxers. Well, are you on any group pages on Facebook that are boxers? What about gardening or any kind of hobby that you have? There are so many people that have that same hobby and you speak the same language. So you can start interacting a little bit, commenting on posts and starting a rapport. Especially if you're a person that's really passionate about a cause of some kind, those people are really driven toward that same cause. You'll have an instant connection with those type of people and you speak the same language. So you'll have maybe one foot in the door with those people as well. 6-foot rule. Like I said, if I'm at a grocery store, it used to be the 3-foot rule. We changed it to 6-foot rule. I like to just be open. I'll teach that to you when I go to acronym and how I actually use that acronym to do my cold market and to do my warm market. But don't forget too that when you're posting things on Facebook and people like or comment, they're showing interest in you and in your life. So make sure those people go on your list as well. Now, inviting tips. Make an appointment is always important when, let's say I'm sitting at a ball game watching sports and one of the other parents says something to me about, hey, I heard about you doing that thing, that CBD thing. And I'll say, yeah, it's awesome. And they'll start picking my brain and wanting to ask me a bunch of questions. But I like to say, you know what, I would love to share it with you, but I just, it's easier if we can just set up a quick time and we can talk, because that way I'm not trying to piece it together. But yeah, I'm happy to help you. And of course you're doing it while your life is going on. And if it falls into, well, I'd love to try a bottle, that's fine. Don't just push them off, but every chance you get, try to make an appointment. I had a lady call me and say, I know for a fact that you are doing really well because, I've watched you, I've seen what's happening. I don't even need any information. I just want to sign up. Well, okay. But I didn't just enroll her, I actually made an appointment the next day to show her the presentation. So she would learn that we had a system, because everything you do is going to duplicate. Now make sure that's a perfect time to segue into don't overtalk, because if you overtalk and you're explaining too many things, they're going to think that's what they have to do. And honestly, they sometimes are thinking, I don't have time. That's not my personality. I don't know if I want to learn all of that. So learn to ask more questions and make it a great experience when you're interacting with people. Try to look for things that you can add value. And when you're inviting, look for that same thing as well. So building rapport is so important. You do not have to spend hours upon hours going to have lunch and developing deep connections and friendships to build these relationships. Great. That will actually happen through the process of your team, and you will be blown away by the priceless friendships that will come out of a business like this when you continue to just keep adding value to people's lives. But in the process of invitation, you don't have to do all of the sit down and try to develop all this connection with them. You just have to show a little value and interest in their life, but always focus on what's important to them. If you could ask more questions and just look for those hot buttons, you will find things that are really important to people, and then you can look for ways to connect those dots. And remember, stories sell and facts tell. That's a huge tip right there. A lot of times when people want to be the expert, it's the worst thing they can do. It makes you look professional, like you know what you're talking about. However, remember that when you're building a team of the masses, that if everyone had to stop and learn everything that you know, how would that affect your business? It would slow things down. So I learned this from a multimillionaire who learned it from a billionaire. I use it quite often, and she uses the phrase, I don't know, all I know is, even if she knew the answer. So I have practiced this over and over, even if I know the answer sometimes. No, I don't want to sound flighty or like I don't know my business, but I just say, I don't know, but what I do know is, and I will give a story about something that our conversation opened up, something that would relate to them, because people absolutely love to find out. The only thing they want to know is, does it work and will it work for me? Now, your over analytical people are going to go research it anyway. So why give them all the information and give them overload? It'll slow that process down as well. Now, if you're talking to a high level professional and you want to speak a little bit on a higher level, just be mindful though, that you don't want them thinking again, that they have to be the expert. Often our doctors, our physicians, our naturopaths, they have a hard time because people think, well, yeah, of course you're having success because of look at what you do. But most people that they end up putting on their teams are not going to have that level of experience or expertise. And we do not want them thinking that they have to learn all of that. So take my advice on that. And then when you're going through your prospecting, do not leave messages, long-winded messages, or giving so many details about what's coming up next. Really, what people love is if you just leave a message that says, hey, it's Dani. I've called you a couple times, couldn't catch you. I have a quick question, call me back. Curiosity will get to them. But if you leave hey, we're having a Tuesday night meeting at such and such, chances are, they'll just get busy and they don't mean to be rude, but they just probably will blow it off. Plus, how awkward is it for you to call back again when you've already dumped out all the beans and now you feel like, uh-oh. And sending text, while that seems easy enough, if someone throws me a message on Facebook inviting me to their meeting or their actual, business presentation of some kind, while I think, well, that's nice that they thought about me, it's easy for me to also think, well, they'll never miss me if I don't show up because they probably sent that to everyone on their friends list. It just doesn't have the personal touch at all. So what I'm about to teach you is the most effective way that I have found. You'll have all kinds of people say, you don't have to make phone calls and yada, yada. But I'm telling you that if you're going to drive this thing faster, and I always say, I'll ride shotgun. If you want to drive it like you stole it. Let's do it. Let's make some phone calls. Let's get after this thing. Not everyone that you sponsor, though, will have that level of belief yet. And once you have it, you can't say, well, your belief's just not there. You have to be mindful of massaging this all the way throughout the process. So do not leave messages. Do not send text messages. And FORM is the acronym I said that I would teach you because this has made me a lot of money. And it just reiterates what we just said. This Theodore Roosevelt quote says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Again, show interest in their life. So I've memorized this and I've used it time and time again. F is for family. So if I'm seeing someone I haven't seen for a while and I bump into him somewhere, I'll say, oh, hey, so how's it going? What's new? And then how's your family? Or if it's a complete cold prospect, I will ask, so are you from here? And Oh, yeah, I've been here for the last 10 years. Oh, so is your family here too? I just look for ways that it'll open up the conversation. Occupation is a really good one. So when you get to the O and you ask, so what do you do for a living? If it's someone that you're just meeting, or if it's someone you're bumping into your warm market, you could say, so how's you're still at your same job? Are you still doing that? And how's that going? And I like to ask the question, so do you see yourself retiring from that? Is that something you really love? I'm looking for ways, whether they love it or whether they don't, but I'm looking for little messages that they may reveal. So for instance, you know, oh yeah, I absolutely love what I've been doing. I love the people, but honestly, I've worked so much that I'm missing out on a lot. So I'm looking forward to retirement. But you're still looking for clues. So if they say something like that, you've got something to communicate back to them when you go to get to your message part of this. I don't always throw the message out when I first talk to them either. So make sure that you know when to do this. But recreation's the other one. Recreation's just, what do you like to do for fun? Or so have you been getting together with people lately? I know everybody's, on lockdown, but are you still having small groups? If it's something where you're just making conversation, or any hobbies keeping you busy. But I like to ask, if it's someone that I'm just meeting in my cold market, so what do you like to do for fun? What kind of hobbies? What do you do? And you will learn a lot about a person when you ask this. Now, again, when we get to the M for message, this just depends on how the conversation goes. I rarely throw out, hey, I've got a business and I want to talk to you about it, because it's just too much sometimes. Now, it depends. It just honestly depends on how that conversation opened up. But let's give a live example. My husband and my son and I went to dinner the other night, and the waiter came out. He was so sweet. He was very friendly. And I started doing it. I'm so conditioned for this now. I just said, hey, thank you. You're so bubbly. I love it. Tell me, are you from here? And he's like, oh, yes, I've lived here my whole life. And I said, so tell me, what do you like to do for fun? Is this what or first I said, is this your full time? Is this all you do, is you're a waiter, or do you have anything else you do? And he said, no, this is my full time. He said, I'm a musician. There we go. Right? That's where the fun comes in. And we start talking about what he's really passionate about. And he's going to go on American Idol, and he's so excited, and he loves to play anywhere he can get his hands on. So all of a sudden I hear in my head, I know how to make a connection with him now, because I start thinking about, how can I add value to this person? Well, I know a couple people that rotate live bands because they have restaurants. They open it up for live music. I have some connections through my son's school of other people that are in music industry. And I thought, perfect. So I said, hey, well, I know a couple people that you may want to get connected to. Why don't I'll put you on my phone. We'll text message, and then I'll send you a message. Or if you ever have a question, happy to connect the dots for you. And it was an instant connection. He didn't sweat 1 minute giving me his phone number. And we sat there and text a few nice things back and forth a couple times. Well, guess what? I'll check in on him. I'll give him a value of some kind. And now we've got some sort of rapport, so that when I do say, are you looking for ways to maybe generate some extra money while you're looking to, hit it big with the music industry? It's a great way to segue into it, but I've already given him value. Now, he may or may not ever do the business, but that is how I use this. Hopefully that helps you. We can definitely talk about it more when we do our open session, but let's make sure that when you understand how to work the phones, that's when you're going to get the best result, because being relational is number one, and being intentional. I told you it's all in your approach, but let them know why you thought of them and why you didn't want to leave them out. Ask them sometimes, are you open? So are you open to learning a little bit more about so if the conversation comes up and in a previous conversation, you could go back around on this and say, so I know we talked about this, and are you open to learning a little bit more about that? Do not use the word interested. People think that's salesy. They actually do a knee-jerk reaction to, oh no, I'm not interested, thanks though. And then when you're inviting to see a presentation, right? So a Zoom, you're being very prompt on what you're doing, but you don't want to have them asking you a ton of questions, because when they start asking you a ton of questions, now they're trying to already make up a decision in their mind. So try, when you're getting in and out of the phone, to be intentional with it and say, would love to connect all the dots for you, but honestly, it's better for you just to get on versus me piecing it all together. And when they're looking at you and wondering if they can do this, ask yourself, are you presenting it in a way that you'd like to be approached? So do not, they'll get too lackadaisy about it, because sometimes when you're too, they're not going to look at it the same, because they're going to think, oh, well, if they're not that excited about it, why should I be? If I have time to do all of this, it's going to look too like I can't do it. Again, back to that whole, they're talking too much, you're giving too much information. The presentation is designed. So I'll say to them, hey, well, when we get you on this call, or when you actually get to see this, you'll see a little bit about, we'll talk a little bit about the product. We're certainly going to go a little bit over the business and the timing, a little bit more about the company, but it's so much better if you can just see it. And again, what does that do? It lets them see that there's an actual tool that they can invite to, that they don't have to know all the information. And I like to get on and off the phone quickly, because it gives less time for them to ask me all those questions. I want to make more phone calls. But if this is a time that you do want to catch up with someone, once you've made the initial invite to whatever you're inviting them to, change the subject. Do not go back to it. If they keep trying to maybe pick your brain, just make sure you find your way out of that conversation to say, no, I would love to, but I really, like I said, it's so much better to hear it. I can't stress it enough. I just don't like to make people feel like that I'm being rude at all when I get on and off, but I want to share with you how I actually did it. And even if it's someone that you haven't talked to in years, I told you at the beginning, I would teach this to you. If you haven't talked to someone in years and you're feeling awkward about it, the best way I've done this is just call them. If I don't have their number, I send a message on Facebook and I say, hey, I want to put you in my contacts. Here's mine. I'm updating my phone, and I'd love to ask you a question, but I couldn't find your phone number. And often they'll give it to me right there over Messenger. If that doesn't work, it's okay. Maybe you do have to send an invite through Facebook. That's the only exception when I do it. But honestly, if you get those people on the phone and they can hear a little bit of posture and they feel like you're excited about something, you're not over the top, you hear this tone, they will be more intrigued about what you have. But if you haven't talked to them and you say, hey, I would absolutely love to catch up with you, but you kept coming to my mind because of this reason. Maybe it's because you were always so positive, or I've seen you on Facebook lately. But listen, we wanted to invite you to something that's really been helping us. And of course, I'd love to catch up, anytime. I just didn't want to leave you out. I wanted to make sure that I at least gave you an opportunity to take a look at it. And if it's not for you, maybe you know someone that it is. And I always like to do that. Again, I'm not so casual about it that I'm making it seem like it's not that big of a deal, but I'm trying to take the pressure off of them where it's like I'm trying to get them. You'll hear me say this a lot. If you already have a sense of direction and you know where you're going, people are so much more attracted to that. They want a leader that knows how to have direction. They want someone that already believes. If you're saying, I don't know, I'm just going to play this by ear and see how it goes. Often I'll have people say, well, let me check around and see how many people may be open to this. I'll say, no, I can tell you right now, you can do that if you want. But if you don't know, why would they? So once you make the decision that you're all in and you're going to go for it, then you're not worried whether they come or not. You want them to, but you don't need them. You would just love to have them. And that changes the game, because as soon as they know that you are doing it and you're going to keep moving this thing, you just didn't want to leave them out. They want to know more information. They don't want to get left out, but you're not over talking it. You're not getting that person that you haven't talked to for years, a big, huge, infomercial. You're treating it with respect. You're saying why you thought about them. And then remember what I said earlier. You never know how this could change someone's life. And it happened for me in one of my situations where I talked to a girl that I hadn't seen in probably almost 20 years, reached out to her on Facebook. She came to a presentation online and she said, no, thanks anyway, but I appreciate it. And I was like, well, I appreciate that you took the time to look at it. And so if there's anything ever you need, just let me know. And I just appreciate that you took some time. She was perfectly fine with that. A whole year later, she comes back and she gets into my business. And not only that, then it led me to the Montana team, Ms. Robin Rao. You hear me talk about her all the time. She's one of my very best friends now because we've worked so closely together. We have such a dynamic opportunity to pave the way that all you have to do is have that decision made and that you're going, and they will sense it. And be professional. Do not try to overdo any of it with anyone. You don't have time, and quite frankly, it's a big turnoff. So I'm going to just go back through. This is kind of a 1 through 10, but let me tell you how I invited Mr. Jim Cleveland. So Jim Cleveland, one of my nationals, was on my chicken list. I thought to myself, how do I even call this man? I've only met him twice. He doesn't really know me. I just went and looked at property that he had. But this man's very successful in our hometown. He's got 2 big businesses that I knew of. He's got more than that now that I know him. But I knew that he was very successful, and I just thought, how would I even, I mean, I've never had that kind of success. Why would he want to do business with me? I kept getting in my head. And then I kept looking at the phone. I kept putting it down, kept picking it up, putting it down. And eventually I just said, Danielle, do it. If you don't do it, the answer is always going to be no. So I stumbled all over myself. He answers the phone and I said, hi, Jim, this is Danielle. I don't know if you remember me. And he said, yeah, I do. And I said, well, we have a business that we're just getting started, and we're helping kids. I mean, I was so choppy. I was horrible. I was all breaking out in a sweat. I remember it to this day. I was pacing back and forth in my bedroom, and he says, what is it? And I said, well, I just wanted to make sure and invite you to a lunch that we're having on Friday. It's a business and we're helping kids. It's new. And he said, well, tell me more. Like, what is it? And I said, because I'd been coached not to give too much information. And I said, you know what? I would just mess it all up anyway. So it'd be so much better if you could just come. Because if I tried to piece it together, and he chuckled, he laughed at me a little bit, and he's like, okay. He said, if I'll put it on my calendar, and if nothing comes up and I don't have any meetings, yeah, I'll probably come. And I said, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I hung up and I was so relieved. But guess what? He shows up. He ends up coming, and then he brings more people. And guess who he knows? Other A players. So getting out of your head, business people or successful people understand timing. Just make sure that you're not overdoing it. Like I said, I keep repeating that because I don't want you to miss that. It's the wrap up and move on. Have that posture about you. But even if you mess it up like I did, it's the fact that you did it. Mess a bunch of them up, because it's better than not doing it at all. So the questions that you're going to look at this week and what you want to prep for are, what are you celebrating as a win in your business? What is something that you can be extremely proud of? Maybe you sold some product. Maybe you sponsored someone new. Maybe you just got out of your own way and you started making more phone calls. Maybe you had a great conversation with someone. Maybe your confidence went up. Whatever it is, it could be anything. We just want you to share that with us. And then I'd like you to kind of look at, what is it that you need to improve on? What is it in your invitation process that you would like to improve on? And please come to the line ready to share that. And then, of course, we'll give you a call to action.